The following show and broadcast is a production of Better Savannah, an independent expenditure committee dedicated to better policy outcomes at the state and local level. The views, opinions, and statements made by the hosts and/or their guests do not necessarily reflect the views of Better Savannah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this evening to kick things off and introduce our speaker tonight to give a response to the State of the City address is none other than Alderwoman at Large for Post 2, Alderwoman Alicia Miller Blakely.
Hello, hello, hello. Chuck, thank you so much for having me on tonight. Savannah. I need y'all to share this. Share. Let people know what's going on. The mayor gave his State of the City address tonight, and I sat there with a broken heart because he did not tell the truth. I need you all to listen and take in what Alderwoman Kesha Gibson Carter is about to tell you, because everything that she's about to tell you is what God loves, and that is the truth. The mayor said some things about us having grievances on council. Of course, we have grievances on council. Okay? When you look at what happens in the city as a sitting council member, we can't get we can't get anything on the agenda if it's not approved by the mayor and the city manager. Now, nowhere in the United States of America, under any form of government, municipalities, do you see something like that happening. I need y'all to take the time to listen and hear what our 68th mayor, and I said that, our 68th mayor is going to tell you tonight, okay? It's serious, Savannah. It's serious. You know, I tell people all the time, they want us to sit up on that dais and be beautiful and be prim and proper. Well, when Jesus Christ went in the temple and turned it over because of all the corruption, guess what? I feel like I'm in good company, because that's what we got to do down at City Hall. We turning it over. A whole lot of folks was wondering why they not getting certain things in their communities. You're going to find out tonight. With that being said, y'all, I'm going to say this. He publicly said that he voted for T-Splosh. Some of the other council members said they voted for T-Splosh as well. But let me tell y'all something. I ain't telling you what I think. I'm telling you what I know. If we pass, who in their right mind wants to put a tax, I don't care if it's a penny, on citizens coming out of a pandemic? That is nothing more than a tax for certain individuals to make their pockets fatter. Okay? Trust and believe. Vote no. He vehemently said he voted for T-Splosh and gave the reason why he voted for T-Splosh. Because they're going to get the roads fixed in the Highlands, and they're going to get the roads fixed in certain areas of the city. Well, guess what, y'all? That's what Splosh is for. Okay? I'm gonna digress right now, because I'm gonna let our 68th mayor tell y'all exactly what needs to be said in her so eloquent way. I'm telling you. All right. Now she nice, but I'm rough. Deal with it. Because we are doing it for you, John Q. Public. All right. Here she is, y'all. Love y'all. God bless you. Peace out. Share this now.
Hello, Savannah. We just heard Mayor Van Johnson's State of the City address. It reminded me of a speech he delivered nearly 3 years ago, the one where this mayor promised a specific kind of leadership. He promised to put a leaf in the table so that there would be more seats. He promised to unite a city and govern for all Savannahans, no matter how they voted. That was his pitch then, much like his pitch tonight. Savannah, my friends, need more than just rhetoric. We need real progress through better public policy. There is a real difference. Contention, you ask? The contention, the very contention that this mayor deliberately created? This council is more known for its contention than its progress. I don't want to spend much time here, but I want to say to you that you do need to know how and why this occurred. You deserve an explanation. Unfortunately, this council's majority has not delivered the progress you elected them to deliver. Within months of taking office, the mayor changed how council operates, which is polar opposite from our charter. We have been prevented from bringing to the floor vital subjects and new policy initiatives that would effectuate real, immediate change in Savannah. We have been shut out and denied equal access to the agenda, which is the initial legislative process to change. Most of the contention on council is from this basic frustration, and it is a direct result of the mayor and his majority hijacking the democratic process. We should be allowed to have honest conversations about common sense, common ground, and about making Savannah a better, stronger community. This requires dialogue. And when one side blocks all discussion, it becomes a one-way street. While he stated that the majority of what we vote on is 9-0, yes, it is. The majority of those items we vote on, we have to keep the lights on. But for those hot topic, highly debated and contested issues, that's where we want you to pay most attention. Again, distraction is the greatest enemy of direction. Do not be fooled. Is Savannah a community or is Savannah a commodity? Is the question I want you to carefully consider tonight, based on what you have seen since we have been in office, based on what you see as you drive through the corridors of the city of Savannah. Let's pause and talk public safety and mistakes. The mayor has touted long overdue police department raises. More seriously, I want you to know he ignored the cries from police officers who openly went on record saying the police department was being gutted from the inside out via failed leadership. Instead of acting, the mayor extended the tenure of the failed former chief until a federal job could come open. he insulated and protected him while violent crime continued to go up 9% per year. This has set our community back tremendously, not to mention the grief-stricken families who have lost loved ones to senseless gun violence. God bless you. The mayor instead has rushed through $200,000 of city tax dollars to hire a federal prosecutor, no doubt, while ignoring attempts from the district attorney to collaborate to clear the backlog of misdemeanors and felonious acts on the state level. Instead of working together, the mayor chose to maneuver around her, manipulate processes, and gut her office. This administration proudly boasts of its raises to city employees, while attempting at every turn to hide the fact that property taxes have gone up so dramatically that these very employees will not be able to live in Savannah. Their rents are being raised to the extent that they will not be able to pay, that their increases will get in the way of the higher rents they will be facing. The chamber agendas and massive projects. The biggest one, Savannah's largest construction project in the history of our city, the arena. There was a rush by this council to open the arena, a project which should have been deemed infeasible at our arrival. But instead, we went forth during a time of global uncertainty, but failed to complete the necessary parking and roads servicing the arena. Most disturbing, on opening day, well through the first quarter, we hadn't passed our own fire inspection, nor had we received a full certificate of occupancy. And now the truth comes out that the Canal District project, an even more complex and more expensive undertaking, has to be built. The Canal District was never voted on by citizens of Savannah, and it currently has no funding. We have poorly prioritized projects to include bike paths to tie the town, which are very important to some citizens of Savannah. But preserving the most vital piece of history in this community is the Weeping Time land. But it has not been given the proper dignity or respect in honest effort. This mayor proudly stands next to the president of the Savannah College of Art and Design as they unveil 21 affordable housing units that they actually no longer need, while avoiding the fact that they relocated or evicted 15 times that many residents from Chatham Apartments, of which most are among the homeless who roam the streets of Savannah. SCAD, while we cannot discount their contributions to Savannah, they own over 170 properties, but pay not a dime in property taxes. And as we routinely hear the mayor say, we're having courageous conversations around pilot fees, those payment in lieu of taxes that many universities throughout the United States contribute to their cities. Again, my friends, rhetoric is no substitute for progress. If SCAD were its own municipality, I submit to you, they would be the 4th largest in Chatham County. And they have no plans to stop growing. Have you seen the 13-story building at the end of River Street? It is long past time for SCAD to come to an agreement for payment in lieu of taxes. We do not seek to be punitive. We do not seek to put out lofty mandates, but what we do want is this entity to pay their fair share so that we are defraying the costs of city services they are increasingly using with the increase to their student population. affordable housing, housing that is affordable, income-based housing. Despite record investments in affordable housing from voter-approved SPLOST from the 2019 referendum, this mayor has been a day late and a dollar short. A day late and a dollar short for the residents who were cleared out of Clearview, the residents who were bounced out of Bayview, and the residents who were cheated out of Chatham Apartments. Recently, this mayor was feeling himself when they thought a major accomplishment was clearing out the locked up area under the Truman Parkway, the very area where this administration contributed to the influx of homeless individuals and encouraged citizens of Savannah to go down and take food and clothes and toiletries. This administration, because of the interest of big developers over at the Eastern Wharf, because that corridor has been coveted by the interest of big developers, we cleared out Savannah's largest homeless encampment. Did it need to be cleared out? Yes. Did it need to be cleared out when we entered into office 2.5 years ago? Yes. But it was cleared out just in time for the mass development that's taking place in that area where no citizens of Savannah will be able to live there. They say they were able to put multiple homeless families in shelters and relocate them. But we know, in fact, that many people, the mentally ill, the physically challenged, and people struggling with substance abuse issues were put in handcuffs on outstanding charges. Shame on us, Savannah. Another failure to get our neighbors to pay their fair share is a lack of the passage of impact fees. These are fees that go along with the development of new construction to include houses, businesses, manufacturing companies. These fees help to establish services like police, fire, infrastructure. But just last week, this mayor stated that an area like the Highlands, he would prefer to exempt all housing from impact fees, with the average new construction home selling well into $300,000. The need to keep affordable housing does not apply to the vast majority of development. We can do better, Savannah. We can work strategic exemptions into the impact fee ordinance if we had political will, but this mayor would rather play favorites to ensure all development pays its fair share. More taxes, T-SPLOST, the Transportation Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, our credibility is declining. This is an administration that will look you dead in the eye and tell you to tax yourself another $450 million for T-SPLOST, a glorified slush fund, while failing to complete the Broughton streetscape that is posing major interruption to businesses, particularly our smaller local businesses on Broughton Street, another SPLOST project. More task forces, tourism, and more delays. It's the absence of leadership from the mayor and his dedication to endless tourism that has prevented Chatham County delegation from reworking and reapproving a new, expanded, and most importantly, an equitable hotel motel tax. And despite the many task force, 16 and counting, it's incredibly difficult to see any real progress for those who previously did not have seats at the table. Where is your leaf? Where is your chair? Delay by task force is a strategy, my friends. Never before have everyday citizens experienced such efforts to maintain public relations? And for what? A press conference every Tuesday, a live broadcast every Friday, an update video on Saturday morning. Be clear. Do not mistake activity for achievement. More on taxes. For the last 2 years or more, this council's majority has not fully rolled back the millage rate, thereby raising taxes on Savannahans. Mayor Johnson continues to boast of the lowest millage rate since 1987, as if you're not deserving of more. But his failure of leadership has led this community to the edge of the property tax cliff. Take the current negotiations for loss. Loss is a local option sales tax. These negotiations and the tax revenue sharing agreement with County Chairman Chester Ellis must be met. Rather than acknowledging the unique burden our city places on county government when it comes to the justice system, which beyond our police department is 100% funded by the county. Again, my friends, that is not leadership. Leadership includes the idea of compromise. Citizens of Savannah now face the uncertain future of immediately experiencing higher rising housing costs. Understand this. The failure to recertify the loss agreement prior to December 31st of this year will result in the single largest property tax increase in the history of Savannah. Let me say this again. Listen closely. The failure to recertify the loss agreement prior to December 31st will result in the single largest property tax increase in the history of Savannah, thereby contributing to mass forced displacement in one full swoop among working class, minorities, and marginalized citizens of Savannah. Even the most wealthy will feel the pinch. Nothing else is more important right now if we want to maintain our blended culture of Savannah. If we want to keep Savannah as we know her and love her, nothing else is more important right now than arriving at consensus with the loss negotiations. Because of this mayor's pride and ego and the opportunism of Chairman Chester Ellis, the two sides are nowhere close to compromise. All of this, listen closely again, all of this while the same donors who have bankrolled both the mayor and chairman's reelection campaigns have spent over $125,000 to tell you to tax yourself out of your community. They have spent $125,000 plus on commercials and T-Splosh billboards and T-Splosh yard signs for you to tax yourself more. In closing, I asked the question, is Savannah a community or a commodity? Tonight, we heard the mayor talk a lot about community. Despite the rhetoric, the last 3 years, Savannah has been treated indeed as a commodity. It's past time we start working on community. A community where we make our police department whole by keeping homegrown and department-grown police officers, where we get out of the way of the chief and allow him to hire and retain people who are ready to serve and not ready to shoot. A community where we are serious about reducing homelessness among families with children and not diverting resources to our cherry-picked charities, and to focus more seriously on episodic street homelessness. We want to arrive at a community where we are protecting sacred land and homeowners and not desecrating it. A community where people who were born here, who grew up here, who were raised here, got married here, will be able to afford to leave here. Not one where people are being taxed out of their neighborhoods. We want a community where we bridge divides and not promote and create them. We want a community that's about us, a united Savannah. Listen, we've traveled a long road over the last 2.5 years. It's been a pleasant ride meeting many of you throughout the city of Savannah and all 6 districts. While bumpy sometimes, I want you to know that we are continuing to stay the course, and we will continue to do what we said we were going to do in 2019. We're going to advocate for the issues that are most important to you. We're going to make ourselves accessible to you beyond the corridors of the Gold Dome. And we're going to inspire you to engage, get involved, and own your rightful place in this political environment. Listen, Savannah, it's been a long night. It's been a long week. Stay safe and always know I love you, Savannah.
All right, we're going to give Alderwoman at large for post 1, Kesha Gibson Carter, just a moment here to take a quick breath and drink a glass of water or whatnot. And if you got any questions for us, throw them in the comments. There's a few media people that have popped in and out that I know want to get some questions in. Again, tonight, you can go to... I do feel a little bad. The internet wasn't working all the way in the Cultural Arts Center, so I know that the video is broken up, but you can access, I think, on WTOC's website, the full speech from Mayor Van Johnson, his State of the City speech, and then again, you'll be able to access this live. So if you have questions and you're watching, feel free to throw them in the chat, and I will make sure to get them in. You just give me a thumbs up whenever you're ready, Kesha. Alderwoman at large, Gibson Carter. Do I have the right one in here, Jeremy? So lovely to see you both.
We love Savannah.
Mm-hmm. We wouldn't be fighting this hard if we
She's
didn't.
worth fighting for.
Yes,
for sure.
Oh well, I thought some of these media would have some questions, but Jeremy, I think Jeremy's a little scared. I don't know. Everybody's always scary. What's up with that?
You know what, Chuck? They don't have questions because they know everything we've said is what God loves, and that's the truth.
Yes,
we done told the truth.
Well, I want to say, if we are still live, I just want to say thanks to you and John McMasters, Better Savannah, for extending your platform and inviting me on to offer these sentiments from my whole heart, and from myself, Alderwoman Miller Blakely, and Bryant Lanier. We are staying the course. We are, in fact, a part of the minority. And when I say minority, I mean minority in vote. And, one of the things I did not make reference to in my message tonight, we love Savannah. We care about Savannah. We are not political climbers. This is my first introduction into politics was in 2019 when I left a career of over 20 years serving Savannahans who experienced the worst that this community's citizens could actually experience via homelessness among families with children, street crime, violence among young individuals who were a part of violent intentional injury via gun violence. That violence that trickled over to another world where I entered into an arena of working with victims of rape and child molestation. And I had a stint working for seniors who were nutrition insecure. And so, with that blended experience, I came to this table with a fire in my belly and a mandate to extend my service of direct care to community, to actually sitting at a table where resources were plentiful. And now I was so excited.
Very plentiful.
I was so
you
excited.
You know what? You don't know what it is until you are sitting at the table. And I guess that's why I'm so upset with what's happening, because I see so many of the other communities suffering, our poor and marginalized communities suffering. And then I'm at the table and I see that's no reason.
Right.
They don't have to suffer.
Yes.
We can change the trajectory of what's happening in our communities with the stroke of a pen,
With
the
every
same
major issue.
way they did Rockingham Farms.
And so we just want the response from our local government to be as expedient for the citizens of Savannah who pay taxes and who live here. We want them to be expedient as we make things for the partners and developers and contractors who actually don't live in Savannah, right? But we divert and do business utilizing a tremendous amount of taxpayer dollars to bankroll these individuals. We are a part of the creation of generational legacy and wealth for a lot of people here in Savannah. And so we understand that our arrival denoted an interruption to over $1 billion of business, and that's actually off the books.
That's
and
right.
so what we are doing, it appears as if we are simply agitators and we are disruptors to the system, when in effect we are peeling the scales, folding the covers back and scraping the scales off.
We're chipping away at it.
Yes, and we're informing and educating people, and folks can say many things, but one of the things that they can say mostly is that never in the history of local government has Savannahans been more engaged, more knowledgeable, and more plugged in than now. And we hope that that is translating to inspiration for individuals to take their rightful place in government. What we want people to know is that you don't beg us or ask us or plead with us for what you want. You tell us. We work for you. And it is my desire to give all of Savannah back to the citizens so that you are speaking to us. You know, that's why we spend so much time in our communities. We spend so much time at the grassroots level. And surely we didn't decide to give up when we were locked out of that legislative process. When the mayor and his majority voted to change the rules of council to where we actually needed a majority to have an item introduced.
You know what? Nowhere
in America,
in any municipality,
does this exist?
Does that exist? Yeah. Except for Savannah, Georgia. And that's by design.
And so what we want people to understand that this is essentially a form of voter suppression. And while we can appreciate the mayor's relationships on the state level and even in DC, great, kudos to him. But again, we care about Savannah.
Wait a minute. When he go to DC, he ain't telling the truth. Okay, that's a I said it moment.
So what we want you to know is
there's some questions coming in the inbox. Jeremy from WJCL did ask, what's the first thing you would like to do to help the homelessness problem in our city? I think just because of the Truman Parkway thing that you mentioned, that's one of the biggest things on the minds of people lately. And that's a question from the WJCL producer, Jeremy Clark.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. Well, as an advocate and a service leader where I led an organization for homeless families and children for 10 years, I first know that you start with sincerely approaching the problem with compassion, right? We have to recognize that homelessness among individuals is multifaceted in terms of what causes the homeless issues that an individual, whether it's a homeless mother with children, whether it's somebody who's mentally ill, individuals who are challenged when it comes to their careers. Understand who and what you are dealing with, and then match that with the bearing capacity of your community. And so, what we have done historically in the city of Savannah and the county of Chatham, we have dedicated resources to our local nonprofit organizations. But, Jeremy, I submit to you that the over 15, almost 20 years ago, when I ran the Interfaith Hospitality Network, now known as Family Promise, for 10 years, the same resources that were in place then have not really expanded much more than 10 years ago, but the resources are nearly 100 times more. And if we are infusing these local nonprofit organizations with millions of dollars at a time via our federal government subsidies and bailouts, we have to make sure that we are holding them accountable. We have to make sure that they are not only creating service opportunities, but they are expanding their bearing capacity. A response to homelessness is not putting a family in a hotel for 30 or 45 days. A response to homelessness with the resources we have received from the federal government is about thinking outside of the box, coming up with new ideas and best practices and borrow ideas from other communities who have done it right. And so I submit to you that we have not done it right here in Savannah. And so the first thing I would do is to pool together the resources of all of our local organizations, identify and learn where we have holes and shortfalls. We know that across the state of Georgia, we have huge deficits and issues when it comes to mental health outreach. That's a big part of our problem here in Savannah. But while it is a state level issue, we need to be working more with our state representatives to make sure that we are focusing directly in that area. We had an opportunity to take the Tybee Depot and expand that area to serve the hard to serve homeless in our community, which was right down the street under the bridge. But instead of using that property that the inner city night shelter wanted to expand their bearing capacity, an organization who has 20, 30 plus years experience in doing this, a woman, Miss Yvonne Pryor, was denied access. But we would rather send our resources to a legacy partner, a former executive of the Savannah Morning News, who got the coveted job at Inner City Night Shelter. We would rather devote millions of dollars to that organization. So again, we don't want to mince words, but what we're here to say is it's time out for selecting pet projects and playing games with this money you say is in DC waiting for Savannah.
Last question.
When it comes from DC, we want to make sure that it's going to support the citizens of Savannah and not in the pockets of our friends.
That's right.
All right, we know it's getting late, y'all. We appreciate everybody jumping on. Last question, and this mayor. I'm not going to tell you who kind of inspired this prompt in my inbox just now, but maybe later. But this mayor has, often described the process of being mayor as a gamer, and this person wants you to explain how your personal feelings towards any political leader, does not really have the bearing on the policy outcome. We might have grown up with them. We might have gone to church with them, or went to high school with them. But if they're not doing, the things that they were elected to do, how do you explain to the voters that, they're not in their interest just because you know them very well or grew up with them,
I don't quite understand the question, but what I can say to you, for me, there are no interpersonal or personal issues that would preclude me from serving the citizens of Savannah. And where gaming is concerned, all I have to say is that as the 68th mayor of the city of Savannah, the game will be over. you don't play games with the lives
Not
of
at all.
Savannahans. You don't play games when we are eclipsing the number of homicide and street violence more than on any other administration's watch. You do not play games when we have homeless people 4 or 5 at a time on the corners of the city of Savannah. You do not play games when this city is on the brink of facing the largest act of forced displacement the city has ever changed, thereby changing the culturally rich community that we love. And so what we want you all to understand, that the media has done a marvelous job of marring this council. And admittedly, has there been contributors to what they report on? Yes. But has their reporting been fair, balanced, and impartial? No. And so if you look at the backstory behind every story, and I think I am possibly the most reported on council person in this region, if not the state, with the level of reporting negatively that's reflective of my person and my service, you would think that I committed one of the 3 major acts that generally sink a politician. There has not been any sex scandals with a man or a woman. I haven't stolen or misappropriated any funds, and I have not committed or been accused of a crime, DUI, drugs, nothing. But if you were to Google me, and if you were to look at the salacious, non-journalistic stories that these people have conjured up, and I understand that it's mostly the editors and not the journalists, you would think that I committed all acts all at the same time. And that's okay. We're here not for that, but if it takes that, and if I have to go through that to get to the other side, we'll consider it dress rehearsal. And in November of 2023, we'll be ready.
Yes. But, I have to comment on this. When you say the mayor is a gamer, y'all, let me tell you this. That's why Savannah is in the condition that it's in, because they have been, past politicians have been playing games
for 18
with
years.
People's lives. They have been gaslighting, shucking and jiving, stepping and fetching, hoodwinking and bamboozling the citizens of Savannah. Okay, we are the ones that's bringing light to what's really going on in this city. And they don't like it. The powers that be in the masses, they don't like it. But guess what? Like you say, I ain't going to shut up. I ain't going to give up.
And I'm not going to let up.
And you ain't going to let up.
P2.
Now, I got you. P1.
It's done.
Yes.
Great job tonight. Good night, everybody.
Good night, y'all.
I love you, woman.
I love you more, girl.
Vote no on the T-Splosh.
That's
No
right.
T-Splosh.
No T-Splosh. None.
Have a good night, Savannah.
All right.
I'm not exactly sure about what it is. I'm not exactly sure why it is. But there has been a proliferation of homeless people ruthless neighbors in our streets, in our squares, throughout our community.